I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. If you guys don't know me, I've been here at the office for about, I think it was, I got here in mid-February, so it's quite some time. I was actually a solo agent for a while. And then exactly 2 months ago today, actually, I joined the concierge team. So, the reason why I'm doing this, it was actually part of the 30-60-90. So I had to do it. Yeah, that's right. Also, with doing real estate, you gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is all new to me. Before I was actually in the construction industry, so doing this stuff is very new to me. But I've become a person, that's okay with growth, and I'm looking forward to see where it takes me. So that's a little bit about me. This is we're gonna be talking about obviously the buyer's consultation. So I wanted to ask you guys, how many of you guys have one? Okay, a few of you guys. If you guys were to get an appointment today, what would you guys take with you guys?
Free engagement, y'all.
My consultation.
Consultation. So the packet, what are you taking, guys?
I have a folder that has the consultation, the copy for them. I have a folder that take notes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Newer agents? What do you guys have? Do you guys have a buyer's consultation yet or not yet? No. Okay. Cool. So for me, buyer's consultation is first and foremost is educating the client, right? That's the number one reason why we do it. Right? It's very important because you'd be surprised how many realtors don't take the time to even sit with their client before they're going out to show property, right? It's crazy, but you'd be really surprised how many people don't take that extra time, right? The second thing would be to go over the needs and goals. That's obviously very important, right? You want to see exactly what it is they're looking to get for their dream home, right? We use the buyer's questionnaire. The buyer's questionnaire. That's exactly what we use. Some people use a Google form. It really depends on what you want to use, but that's been working for us, so we're pretty comfortable with that. The third and final reason why we do the buyer's consultation is because we want to get a referral, right? If you're taking the time to sit down with a client, the reality might be that they might not be ready to move forward with the process right now. So if you're taking those 20, 30, 40 minutes to sit down with someone, you might want to make it worth it, right? Get a referral out of it. And the referral, I always like to say, it's like an audition for the next client, right? Once they see that you're professional, they're gonna see that they're gonna build that trust with them. They're gonna see that you're very professional. So they're almost gonna feel obligated to give you that referral because they're gonna see how professional and how serious you take the business. Okay. Now the importance of learning it, right? So first and foremost is it makes you stand out from others, right? Just like I said earlier. There's a lot of realtors who don't take the time to sit with anybody. So if you're willing to take the time, even if they're not ready right now, they notice that and it makes you stand out from others, right? For me, it makes me feel, it made me feel more confident. Before, I was doing my calls, and I just didn't feel confident enough to go in for that appointment, right? But now learning the buyer's consultation thoroughly, and actually, mastering it, internalizing it, it actually made me feel a lot more confident to go in for that appointment, right? And now I listen to the client more instead of focusing on what I'm going to say next, right? And that's crucial because for me before, like I said, I didn't really know too much of the buying process. I've never purchased a home myself, so I wasn't even familiar with how it works. So now that I listen to what the client's needs are and their goals are, I focus more on that than focusing on what I'm going to say next. Right? And since I've learned it, I booked 10 appointments. I haven't closed any, but stay tuned. Now learning it, right? We have to take the initiative to learn it because at the end of the day, we're subcontractors, so we have to be the ones to take it. We have to be the ones to take the initiative and learn it, right? It doesn't matter if you have a math coach, PC coach, or even a mentor. At the end of the day, we have to be the ones to take that initiative and learn it and internalize it, right? For me, it was very hard to learn it. For me, it was very hard to learn it. I was part of the first 30 days of being part of the team. I had to present it 3 times in the first month. So the first week, I literally got with Coach Aurora, She presented it to me, I recorded it, and literally from there on, every day of my AirPods, just listening to it. It got to the point where I didn't even want to talk to her. I just got over her voice. I was like, it's too much. And so it got to a point where I was just like, man, this is like overwhelming, right? And it was kind of hard, The second week came along, I had to present it. I got through it, of course I tap danced my way through it, but I got through it. Now the second time I presented it, it was tough, I'm not gonna lie. I completely bombed it. To be quite honest, I completely bombed it. I didn't even make it through the first half, like at all. So I bombed it. Coach told me, like, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's okay. You just gotta trust the process. You gotta be okay with falling on your face a few times before you learn your stuff. So then she got Hector into the room. He presented it to me. He told me, he's like, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm very hard on myself. So I was like, man, I was just stressing, I was overwhelmed. I was like, it's super hard. But then once he came in, he did his thing. He made it seem like it was nothing, I'm like, and I'm tripping over this, like this is very simple. I just gotta do it. So then I presented it again. I timed my way through it, and I just did it. It was not perfect, but it was better, right? But then the reason why I say that is because a lot of people make things seem that it's easy to do, but I just want to let you guys know that it's gonna be a little hard, but you just gotta trust the process and get through it, and learn and master it. Okay, just trust the process. And now, so you guys can see how I do my thing, I'm gonna have a role play. I'm gonna do a role play with Coach. Coach, would you like to join me, please?
It'll be easy on him, right?
We have it all planned out. Just to add something, when the time that he was talking about that he bombed it, he had already presented it to me and it was perfect. And then that time, for some reason, it wasn't. And he stopped, and then Hector came in and showed him, and he did it. And then I was like, okay, Manny, you ready? He said, no, I don't want to do it. He was almost embarrassed about it because he just bombed it. And I was like, well, you don't have a choice. So I'm gonna stay here till we get through it, And then he did it. And how did you feel out there?
Honestly, I felt relieved because then that's when I came to the realization that it's just not that big of a deal. It's just us and it's the brain. That's what always holds us back. But after that, honestly, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have heard it. So I think that accountability it really helped me.
Yeah. So I didn't want him to go home defeated. It was at the end of the day, and I didn't want him to go home and the last thing he did was pump the role play. So I was like, we're gonna do it until you did it. So just keep that in mind that you're gonna want to take. It's gonna happen. So ready? All right.
All right. Nice to meet you finally in person, Aurora. Thank you so much for meeting me. I really appreciate it. Okay. So really the purpose of this meeting, right, is to go over the buying process, right? To go over your needs and goals when it comes down to finding your dream home, and a little bit about what's going on in the market, right? But before I get into that, there's actually two important questions I need to ask you. Okay. The first question is: there's a buyer that someone's looking to buy within the next 30 days. There's a B buyer that someone was looking to buy within the next 3 to 6 months. And there's a C buyer that someone was looking to buy within the next 7 months to a year. Out of those 3 buyers, what would you say you want?
I would say I'm an A buyer. I need to move. I miss my mom and I'm just over it.
Okay, perfect. So we gotta get on it, okay? Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. It's really important for me to set that expectation up front, because if you're an A buyer and I treat you like a C buyer, you're gonna think I'm not doing my job and I'm not connecting with you ever so often, or vice versa. If you're a C buyer and I treat you like an A buyer, you're gonna think I'm crazy calling you my week, what I mean?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that with me, okay? The second thing I wanted to ask you is, as we're going over this, whole buying process, I want you to keep in mind who you're struggling with, whether it's family, a friend, maybe a coworker, that this conversation is essential, okay? And at the end of the buying conversation, I'm asking who that person is, fair enough?
Okay.
Okay, Aurora, so this is the home buying process. Whether you work with me or another agent, this is the same exact process you're gonna go through. So the first thing is, select a real estate agent. Now, I know you referred to me by your uncle, but by no means am I gonna take that for granted, okay? I wanna make sure that I earn your business, and hopefully, as I explain this, you're gonna see the value that we have to bring, and hopefully you decide to work with us again, okay? Perfect. Next thing would be to obtain a financial pre-approval. Now, I'm sure you've heard a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Now, the difference is a pre-qualification is just you you and I having a conversation, you telling me, hey man, you know what? I work X amount of hours a week, I make X amount a year, my credit score is X amount, I'm still okay, fair enough, all right, so based on what you're telling me, I feel like you're gonna be qualified for X amount, right? That's just us having a conversation, rough numbers, okay? Now, pre-approval on the other hand is you proving on paper exactly how much it is that you're approved for, right? So that's when the lender's gonna run your, they're gonna check your taxes, they're gonna run your credit, it's gonna, make sure you've been working for the past 2 years, things like that. And they're gonna come down to the actual, how much it is that you actually pre-approved for, okay? And it's important for you to know, Aurora, that we only work with pre-approved buyers. And the simple reason for that is we don't want to show you a home, you fall in love with that home. The next thing you know, we can't submit an offer because we don't know if you're pre-approved for that home. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Any questions on that part?
No.
No? Okay. So next thing would be to analyze your needs in a buyer's consultation. That's exactly what we just did before hopping into this. I know you want a 4-bedroom and bath. I know you want a single story home only, and I know you don't want HOA, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So regardless of what happens today, Aurora, I'm gonna set you up on an automatic search from MLS, the multiple listing service that we use as realtors. And you're gonna start to see what's going on in the market, right? Homes that are coming soon, homes that are just hitting the market, and you're gonna kind of see what's going on, price reductions, things like that, okay? Then you're gonna select properties that you wish to preview, right? Then we're gonna go view those properties, right? And before we go view those properties, when you work with us, we calculate those payments on those properties, because I know you told me you wanna stay within $3,500 a month, right? That's your max?
Yeah, and that's like, I love the house.
That's pushing it, right?
3,500, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that with me. So the way you calculate a payment, we always calculate payments on any home before we go see it, because we want to make sure we stay at this or on this, right? So the way you would calculate a payment is P-I-T-I-A. So the P is for principal, the I is for interest. You're gonna take the principal and multiply it by interest, and you're gonna get a number, right? Whatever that number is, it just depends on the purchase price, right? The T we're gonna skip for now. We're gonna go to I. I is for insurance. Now, insurance works the same exact way as if you were to go buy a car. They're not gonna let you drive off the lot until you have insurance on the car, right? Because you still owe the bank X amount of dollars, right? Same thing with the home. That number is very personal for everybody though. If you're anything like me, I'm a very basic dude. I don't want any crazy coverage, whatever the government requires, the bare minimum, right? But you could be different. Maybe you want to get your couches, covered, your furniture, TVs, things like that. So maybe for me, it's $50 a month, and for you, it could be $100 a month. It's a very personal number, so it just varies. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. The A is for association. Now, the association could run anywhere between $30 a month to $300 a month. It just really depends on what that association has to offer. Some associations don't have anything to offer. They just want to make sure that the front yard is looking nice and clean. Some other associations that are on the higher side are in the gated community. They have amenities, they have a fitness center, a pool, recreation center, things like that. But I know that doesn't matter for you because I know you told me you don't want to.
Yeah, no HOA, I like to go party.
Perfect. All right, cool, thank you. So then T is for taxes, right? Now, did you know that taxes is the #1 reason why people think they qualify for a home, but then they figure out they don't? I'll explain to you why. I'm going to do an example here. Don't mind my drawing, guys. Right? Little door. So when I run the, they're both going to be at, $450 purchase price, right? When I run the payment on this one, calculating all of this, the payment comes out to $3,500 a month, right? But when I run the payment on this home, it comes out to $4,000 a month. You're gonna be like, well, what the heck? That the same exact home, same exact size, what's going on here? Well, maybe on this side of the home, the kids that live on this side go to the new high school, or maybe there's a new construction community, maybe there's a new shopping center, things like that. And the kids that live on this side, they go to the older high school, it's an older community, so it's a lower tax rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So maybe this is just really the dividing line of who pays the higher tax on this side and the lower taxes on this side. With me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's how we calculate the payment. So once we view the properties, we're gonna write an offer to purchase. And we don't just write offers just to write them. What we do is we do exactly what an appraisal would do before writing the offer. We're gonna go 1 mile from the property. We're gonna see what's been selling similar to that home we looking to purchase. And a few things can happen, right? I might tell you, hey, Aurora, this home is going for $450. Based on the research that I did, I feel like that's a reasonable price. I feel like we should come at that, right? Or I can say, you know what, this home is actually under market. I think we should come in a little more aggressive. It's also turnkey ready, and they also have a couple offers on the table, so we gotta be more aggressive, right? Or I could say, you know what, this home is actually above market, I think we should come in a little under, right? At the end of the day, I'm just gonna show you the research that I did, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be the one to make the final decision. With me? Okay, perfect. So then, next thing would be to negotiate terms. That's just us going back and forth with the seller, coming to an agreement. Once we come to an agreement, then the seller's gonna accept our contract. Aurora, this is barely when the process begins, okay? And I'll explain to you why. So as soon as we get the contract accepted, we have to do what's called submit an E&D. Now, E&D is stands for earnest money deposit. And it's usually 1% of the purchase price, right? And basically what that means, Aurora, the earnest money deposit is you telling the seller, hey, you know what, seller, I'm very serious. I want you to put this home on hold for me. Meanwhile, I do my, my inspections, things like that, make sure everything checks out, and then move forward, okay? Now, once we do that, a 17-day clock begins, right? Now, in those 17 days, we have to do 4 things. The first thing we have to do is get a pre-approval. Now, lucky for you, working with the DCR's team, and that was one of the first things we did. Okay, so that's already out of the way. The second thing would be to get a home insurance quote. Home insurance quote, right? And there's 2 reasons why you want to get that. First and foremost, you want to. You guys get the point. So there's 2 reasons why we want to do that, right? First and foremost, we want to see exactly how much it's going to be, right? Depending on the coverage you're looking to get. Also, we want to see if there's been any, insurance claims on the property. You want to see, and if there was, what happened and what did they do to resolve it, right? Next thing would be to get an inspection. Now, we require all our buyers to get an inspection. That does nothing for us, but it's actually in your benefit because we want you to know the ins and outs of the property before even making that big financial decision. Make sense? And this could run anywhere between $250 to $700, right? It just really depends on the purchase, on the property type and the property size, right? So basically what's gonna happen here is the general inspector is gonna come out. He's gonna check the home, he's gonna hop on the roof, like literally do a full thorough inspection on the property. And then he's gonna come back to us and say, hey, you know what? Sorry. Then, so he's gonna do his inspection, then he's gonna, come up with a report back to us. He's gonna say, hey, you know what? These are the things that I found. It's important for you to know that one inspection can lead to another. The reason why I say that, and let's say, an inspection, let's say he discovers there's signs of a leak on the roof or something like that. You're gonna say, hey, you know what? I think it's recommended we get a licensed roofer out here to see what's going on with the roof. Because it could be a big thing or it could be a small thing, right? We really don't know, right? So once he's done with his full inspection, he's gonna come back to us with the report. You and I are gonna sit down again and go over that report, and we're gonna figure out the things you cannot live with, right? So maybe the doorbell that doesn't work, it's not a big deal because you're planning on putting a ring, the ring doorbell anyways. Maybe the faucets are not a big deal because you're planning on changing those. But maybe the sign of a roof leak is a big deal, right? You don't know exactly what it means. So you as a buyer have the right to go to the seller and ask for repairs on the things you cannot live with, right? So 1 or 4 things could happen, right? The seller could say, you know what, I'll repair everything, no problem. They could say, you know what, I'm gonna repair this, but I'll repair that. They could say, I'm not gonna repair anything, but I'll give you a credit. Or they could say, you know what, I'm not gonna repair anything, take it or leave it, right? So that's why it's very important that when we do go to the seller and ask for those repairs, we're very reasonable and not too aggressive, right? Now, the 4th and final thing, any questions on that part?
No.
No? Okay. The 4th and final thing is getting an appraisal, right? Now, the appraisal could run anywhere between $350 and $500. And basically what's gonna happen is the appraiser is gonna do exactly what we did before submitting the offer, but he's gonna come down to the true value of the property, right? So let's say we went in and we did an offer at $450, the seller accepted that at $450, but then when the appraiser comes back, the appraiser comes back lower. He's gonna be like, you know what, it's actually worth $440, right? So what could happen in that case are a couple of things. We have to go back to the seller, renegotiate and come to an agreement, right? So the seller could say a couple of things. They could say, you know what, I'll go down to $440, no problem. They could say, you know what, I'll go down 5, you come up 5, we'll meet in the middle. Or they could say, you know what, I'm solid at $450, take it or leave it, right? So if that were to happen, you as a buyer have to come up with that difference out of pocket. Okay? With me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we have 17 days to do these 4 things. If within those 17 days, you say, you know what, Manny, I'm not doing this home anymore, you know, something about it, I don't like it, you get your EMD back. But if on the 18th day you tell me the same thing and you say, you know what, Manny, I'm not doing this home, you lose this EMD, right? So, so that's why it's very important that we get all this stuff out of the way within those 17 days so you can make the final decision if we're comfortable with the purchase. Okay? Also, it's important to know that the only 2 things that are non-refundable in this whole entire process is the inspection and the appraisal. Simple reason for that is because they did a job and they gotta get paid.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Okay, any questions on any of that?
No, it's a lot of information, but
Yes, definitely.
yeah, you're explaining it extremely well.
Perfect, okay, so once we do that, we're gonna move forward with the process and do what's called a move contingency, right? Basically, all that means, Aurora, is you're telling the seller, hey, you know what, I did all my research on the property, did all my due diligence, I'm still ready to move forward and I'm not, you know, continue the process. Right, so basically what's gonna happen in this, you know, in this time, the mortgage, or the lenders are gonna make sure you still qualify for the loan, you know, they're gonna finalize that. They're gonna make sure you didn't go buy a boat, you know, didn't go wrap up any credit card debt, things like that. We're also gonna do what's called conduct a title search. The reason why we do that, Aurora, is because, first and foremost, we wanna make sure that title's free and clear, right? Because what could happen in this case is, let's say, for example, a seller had you know, some work done in the home, and for whatever reason, they didn't pay the contractor. That contractor by law could go and put a lien on the property, a mechanics lien. And if the seller were to ever sell or refinance the home, that person gets paid automatically first. Does that make sense? We want to make sure we walk into that property and get the title free and clear. Okay.
Got it.
We're also going to obtain a title insurance. The title insurance. The reason why we do that is if something were to ever pop up after the fact, we always protect it. Okay. Then we're going to conduct any additional inspections, like I mentioned. Maybe the roof is going to come out during this time, right? And the seller, this is when the seller is going to be resolving any of the repairs that you need to resolve. Okay. Then after all of this, we're going to obtain funds for closing, close on the property. Then you're going to take possession of your first home. Excited?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a long process, but you know that's what we're here to guide you along the way, right?
So how much does this cost me to?
Great question. That's actually was going to be my next point. This entire process, you, Aurora, is completely free to you. I actually get paid by the seller.
Oh, okay.
Was this valuable information to you?
Yeah, how long does this all take?
Yeah, so this process can take 17 days, 21 days, 30 days is the usual. It could even take 45 to 60 days. It really just comes down to what agreement we came with the seller, right? And yeah, any questions on any of this so far?
No, not right now.
No? Okay, perfect. Well, at the very beginning of the buyer's consultation, Aurora, I asked you, you know, to keep in mind as you're learning all these new things, who in your circle do you know that this conversation would benefit, right? Who did you think of?
Oh my gosh, my cousin needs to hear this. She's been trying to buy a house and then she's in and out of the process all the time, so I'm sure she doesn't know
Okay,
all this stuff, yeah.
all right. Would your cousin be okay if I reach out to her?
I'll give her your number.
Okay. Listen, why don't we do this? Why don't you just give me her number now and her first and last name, right? And I'll give you a couple of days so you can talk to her, because what I don't want to happen is her lose out on an opportunity to work with a great agent out in this area. Because I understand you get busy, you know, and I just don't want things to fall through the cracks or you miss out on this opportunity.
Well, I'll give it to you, but you can't call her because I gotta talk to her first.
That's totally fine.
It's weird.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's her first and last name?
Her name is Maria.
Okay, perfect. Remember me.
It's just 555-555-5555.
Thank you so much for that, Aurora. That really means a lot because as you may or may not know, that's really how we do it. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Any other questions for me at the moment?
Yeah, what about like new construction?
So new construction, I'm glad you brought that up. Anything that's for sale, you know, that's home, we could represent you, right? Whether it's new construction, for sale by owner, or any of that, we could always represent you, right? And then basically the next things that we would have to do, Aurora, because I know you're ready to get started, is get connected with the lender. What would be a great time for our preferred lender channel to reach out to you?
They could tomorrow after like 4.
Okay, perfect, tomorrow after 4. What I'll do is I'll reach out to panel, I'll make sure to give you a 5 before tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Fair enough?
Cool.
Thank you so much for your time today, Aurora. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Manny.
It was good.
So the sheet that he was going through was this one, by the way. He was just going down the line. But he literally had that all by memory. So do you think he was really worried about what to say? No, he was really listening. I didn't throw any, because I've seen him sweating, so I don't. He did great. All
I
right,
have a
go
question, man.
Yeah, what's going on?
What time did you sign the PRO?
That was gonna be my question, man.
We don't do that. I think maybe that's something we should do.
That's not, honestly, what's your question?
I don't do it either.
We honestly, we don't do it like we should. And when we do it, it's more of a like VIP, like it's like a very friendly, like, hey, it's been something that me and Hector have talked about doing and that we need to get better at doing. But what we would do in that instance, we would say, when he said at the beginning, he said, we're gonna go through a lot of information today, so I want you to keep in mind who else would benefit from a conversation like this. So we would just add it in there, and what we would say is, after I go through all this information and you see the value that we bring, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you to commit to me the same way I'm gonna commit to you. And then at the end of the consultation, we would just say, hey, remember at the beginning, we talked about us committing to each other? Here's how we're gonna do it. And you present the document. We just, honestly, we just don't do it. It's not because it's not important, we know the importance of it, and trust me, we've been burned before. We've just been blessed to where it hasn't happened, lately. But yeah, it's something that we need to definitely get better at. But that's how we would ask for it. I've never had anybody say no to sign it. All right.
Any other questions?
Great job, man.
Thank you. That's really good.
So let's say, okay, so who can you think of, right? And then the person says, well, no, I'll give you your number. And you say, great, got it, like you said, right? The second time, I gave you the number. If they say again, no, I'll give them your number. At what point do you say, okay, got it? Or what will be the approach for that?
You know what? I mean, it can go either way, right? I mean, I always try to get that number up front because, to be honest with you, the chances of them giving you that number later on is very slim, right? So, and then for them to share you their number, that chance for that person to reach out to you is very slim too, right? So it's very important for us to get that number up front and go to that person correctly.
If you don't get the number that day, there's always a follow-up call to this appointment. So then you would just follow up on that when because you also don't want to like freak them out and make getting this other name more important than what they just told you they needed. So what we would do is on the follow-up call, like, hey, we had an appointment, 3 days ago. Do you have any questions? How's it going with Tano? Oh, by the way, I remember you mentioned your cousin. Did you have a chance to talk to her and then you ask for it again? And then you go show them a house and ask for it again. And then you go show them another house and ask. Like every single interaction that we have is an opportunity to ask for a referral.
She mentioned new construction. You said you can help her with new construction. Do you give any guidelines or instructions in regards to new construction?
Yeah, we usually do. I didn't really go too far into that, but yeah, we would always say it's always recommended for you, for us to go with you on your first visit. Because if we don't go on with you on the first visit, that's you releasing like, I guess, liability from us representing you. Because that's just you signing with that builder and with those sales rep, and they're the only ones that could represent you from there forward.
So we do let them, there's a script for that. I kind of threw that curveball and I didn't remember if we were gonna do it or not. But typically what we would tell them is to just keep in mind that if they go without us, they're basically saying they don't need us. And that they're okay with the same agent representing both sides. So we do bring that up in the questionnaire that you guys receive. We would know there if they're interested in new construction or not, and then we would go deeper into it. If they don't talk about it too much, we don't spend too much time on it because there's just so much information. We don't want to like overwhelm them.
Perfect. Any other questions, guys?
I have a question.
Going on.
Manny, why don't you tell them like the importance of how many appointments did you have before you joined the team, and how subconsciously you were avoiding getting the appointment? Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned earlier, I was making my calls, doing my thing, right? But I was always so afraid, I guess you could say, right, for going in for that appointment because I didn't know what to take with me or what to talk about or what to even explain, right? So like how he said, like from before joining the team, to be honest with you guys, I only got, I would wanna say 1 or 2 appointments, and that's it. You know, from February to literally 2 months ago, so it's kind of sad, right? But that's why I wanted to bring this importance and share with you guys the importance of doing the buyer consultation, right? Because it'll give you guys that confidence you guys need to explain the process, you know, to meet with your clients, and you know, to go in for that appointment, right? So I feel like that's why it's very important.
I have a question. So when we do buyer's consultations, how many questions do you actually get during the consultation?
You know what? Very few. I want to say less than 4.
Like
If
you
that.
might think that I was going easy on him, but you're being
That's
so thorough
Yeah.
that they're like, no, and the whole time. Because you're already addressing all the concerns that people have.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, you're explaining it all up front, you know, so they don't really come up with any questions.
Do you always recommend, sorry, do you always recommend doing these in person or?
We personally do it over Zoom. Yeah, whatever works best for you, but for us, it's just easier, you know, as far as time, you know, you just meet on Zoom, quick 20 minutes, and just do it that way. But I mean, for you, it could be different. For you, you might want to go out to Starbucks, meet with them there. It's just really how you want to do it.
Question. On the inspection, you know how, for like the roof or anything like that, is that within 17 days as well, that it needs to be done?
Yeah, we always, well, that's when we want to figure out what's going on, like, and what repairs you like to do, and then that's when we go back to the seller and ask for those repairs, right? But then when they're doing those repairs, is when we remove the contingency, right there in this period, that's when we're resolving those issues. That's when you're taking care of all the issues that you found out during the inspection. Does that make sense?
So you have to get all your inspections within those.
Yeah, within the 17 days,
But not the actual repairs.
but the
Not
repairs
the
happen
actual
during this time. Yeah. Any other questions? What's going on, Jay?
Do you ever skip a home inspection?
No. You know what,
Yeah.
that's actually one of the things we require all of ours to get, right, like I mentioned, because, you know, you wanna see what's going on with the property, the ins and outs, any imperfections, right? Because if you're making a pretty big, you know, investment, you know, it's one of the biggest investments people make in their entire life, right? So if you're doing that big purchase, you wanna know exactly what you're talking about.
What if your client doesn't want one? How do you educate them?
Well, we set the expectation.
Yeah,
and
like,
some-
yeah, I set it up from the jump, you know, so I haven't really run into that, so that's why I really didn't know.
That's a great point. Thank you, man. You did really, really good. Like, so good, you guys.
I'll buy it.
Yeah, so when we talk about the inspection, we say we require all of our clients to do a home inspection. So this consultation is all about setting expectations too. So there's no surprises.
That's perfect.
And Manny's got it down, because to go play in front of like people is different than one-on-one. And he still hit all the points. I'm like,
Good job, Manny.
Thank you guys.
yeah.
I would like to add something because, and I want to acknowledge, you know, the Gutierrez team, because I haven't personally worked with them, but we make calls from here. And so you'd be surprised, a lot of the times, you know, when you're making calls, as you're listening to others, you know, how you can tell me what they say to what you're saying. Because it just really comes down to asking questions that Manny was saying. And so what I learned from Hector is when I'm making the calls, rather than me telling them something, is I'm gonna ask them something, whatever that is. And if they say, no, I'm not interested, okay, got it. Now, you know, like Manny's constantly, okay, got it, thank you. And now it's like, okay, can you think of anybody? You know, and so you tap into the brain and then just pick it up, see what they can think of. So I think that if anyone of you wants to join us, we're always here. And, you know, like I said, you'd be surprised how many things you pick up, because I just learned from them a lot right now. So I think we all have a little bit special knowledge that we can all add a value to each other.
Exactly. Part of it is showing up and practicing. And this is a huge example of someone that's diving deep within his own business to be able to learn this and grasp this, and of course with good mentors. And just because you don't have any mentor doesn't mean you guys can't dive deep into this. Take what you learned today and practice this with each other. Kind of like Marcelino said, they're always here. We have scripts and role play on Mondays at 9 now. There's pretty much no excuse for you guys. You guys have the tools presented to you. Just practice it, and I promise you, you're gonna notice your conversion go up. We shared a story earlier. Thank you for being so open and honest about that. And let me come up here and thank you. Thank you, Manny. next person to
What
present?
was it, like 15 minutes? It was about 15 minutes?
Yeah, we're trying to keep it between 20 to 30 minutes tops.
Yeah,
What-
I go
what-
to 45 minutes, not gonna
That's what I was about to,
lie.
that's what I was about to say.
I
You
go
can tell
in.
that he's practicing, it's pretty much an internalized script.
Yeah.
Because he was done in 15 minutes. I've done an hour and a half. And I'm real personal, so, I'll really engage, but when you have the script down like that, you can engage and still get right back to business.
Yeah.
Without it sounding like you're getting back to
And
business.
it depends too, right? Because if you have someone that's like very quiet or they're not very like interactive, then yeah, you keep it short, right? But if you have someone who's talking with you, you want to build that relationship too, so it just really.
But it shows that you have control.
Yeah, I did one, Tuesday, and he was shadowing me, and I was like, what's up, guys, and blah, 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 and I was like, and we do the inspection, and here, basically, this is how it works, the dude's gonna come out, and I'm like, talking like that, and Manny's shadowing me, but I already know that he knows it, and I have it so internalized that I just put my own flavor on it, and the couple I was meeting with, they were young, they're like, actually, one of the guys was from our youth group, and he grew up, and now he's married, and buying the house, so I was like super casual with him, and Manny was like, Coach, like, how'd you do it like that, because I told him, like, you don't skip a step, you know what I'm saying, and he was learning it, but when you have it internalized, you can jump around because you're not worried about it, like, all I asked him was like, did I skip a step? No. Did they get all the info? Yeah. Do they love me? Yeah. So it was like easy, but I sat in a class like this, I reported Sophia, and I listened to Sophia every day until I mastered it, and now it's my own, and Manny just did the same. So hopefully you guys reported it, because then you just literally learn it and turn it into your own thing, but it takes time.
Takes time and dedication, right? You gotta be the
Yeah.
ones, like I said, take that initiative and, be willing to learn it, right? But it's not gonna stick on the first few times, right? You gotta listen to it, practice it, role play it, and just, get the hang of it.
That's literally the beauty of practice, you guys. We always talk about internalization, to the point where Laura can, you and I can do it on a napkin. That's the analogy we use. I could literally set on the back of a receipt, give someone a virus cost presentation. You guys do the same thing. And eventually, like I said, you guys can make it your own. You just said that it's super chill. Bring your audience. The person that brings us out questions, don't just cut them off and say, okay, so back to this. 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Oh, hey, I'm gonna get there. So anyway, you don't want to do that either, but part of being able to do that, you did such a good job at that, is getting it back on track, so. You guys can do this, it's possible, and he's someone that stepped up to the market center and taught this class for you guys, and this is part of our culture, thank you, so I just can't begin to explain how proud I am of you. And,
I just want to add too that for those of you that are new, real estate is a very, very difficult industry, very hard, a lot of ups and downs. And sometimes it's more downs than ups. And don't let Manny's track record, fool you, because he's very, very consistent in trying to master his craft. And he said it perfectly. You gotta get comfortable getting out of
Getting comfortable with being
getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's a perfect example of this industry. And because he's been so consistent, and us older agents, we know who's gonna be doing good and who's a little bit. But Manny, he's like, no, I don't think anybody doubts that Manny's gonna be doing great things.
Yeah.
That means a lot, guys. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, let's give a round of applause, you guys. It's a lot of guts to do this, you guys, even I get nervous doing it. You told me to do it on the spot right now, I get nervous. You're already ready. You're already ready. It's fun outside. Who's next? Yeah, I mean, who's gonna be the next one?
Yeah, what's the next one? Yeah.
I taught a listing class with 0 listing under my belt. Like, Manny's going through the same exact trajectory.
Esther, you can do it? Sure. Let's teach the next virus class?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Get this on camera. How long do you need, a month?
Sure. Yeah.
November?
There you go.
Okay.
Really safe. Hey, guys. Well, thank you guys once again for coming in. I really appreciate you guys' time. And I'll be around. So if you guys have any other questions, just please feel free.
We're gonna see on Gary Keller stage one day, okay?